Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to Movie Talk. Now today is going to be a very special video. In this video I'm going to be talking about the top 10 weirdest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. And yeah. Fair warning though, these movies I'm going to be talking about are insanely weird, disturbing, bizarre, odd, creepy. So if you happen to check these movies out for yourself, you have been warned. Number 10, Hereditary. I never want to see this movie again. When the head of the Graham family passes away, her daughter and grandchildren begin to unravel cryptic and terrifying secrets about their ancestry, trying to outrun the sinister fate they have inherited. I kind of figured the plot twist of this movie pretty early on, that it was kind of like a cult, Antichrist kind of movie. I kind of figured that kind of plot from the get-go, almost like just like a demon sort of related story. I was very confused, I was very disturbed, and I don't recommend this movie. It really wasn't my cup of tea, but like I said, a lot of people like this movie, but it's definitely weird and it's definitely bizarre, and it deserves a spot on this list. Number 9, Donnie Darko. This film is depressing. During the presidential election of 1988, a teenager named Donnie Darko sleepwalks out of his house one night and sees a giant demonic-looking rabbit named Frank, who tells him the world will end in 28 days. When Donnie returns home, he finds that a jet engine was crashed into his bedroom. Is Donnie living in a parallel universe, or is he suffering from a mental illness? I don't know why this movie bothered me so much. It's just weird and bizarre. I mean, I for one watched the director's cut, and that's the one to go for. If you're willing to watch this movie, go for the director's cut, because it at least gives you more scenes to work with, just so you kind of can build some sort of characteristic of how the story is put together. But all in all, it's a pretty good movie. It's really, really depressing. But I love the way it was put together. Number 8, Mother. Now this movie literally gave me a headache, a migraine, a pounding headache, like somebody was bashing me in the head with a sledgehammer. A young woman spends her days renovating a Victorian mansion that she lives in with her husband in the countryside. When a strange person knocks on the door, he becomes an unexpected guest in their home. Later, his wife and 2 children arrive to make themselves at home. Terror soon strikes when the wife tries to figure out why her husband is extremely friendly. This is a bizarre movie. It's almost like Hereditary. It's almost like another cult movie. By the end of the movie, you're like, oh, that's a cult. It's just, it gave me a headache. By the end of the movie, I was just sitting there like, I'm telling you, I guess I'm just not that bright in the head where what's the word for it? When a storyline is just extreme, when there's just so much stuff piled up on top of another, it just goes over my head. But if you want to try to see this movie, good luck. Number 7, A Cure for Wellness. Now I actually like this movie a lot, but that doesn't deny the fact that it's still very bizarre and weird. The movie follows a Wall Street stockbroker traveling to a remote location in the Swiss Alps to retrieve his company's CEO from a mysterious wellness center. He soon suspects that the treatments are not what they seem. His sanity is tested when he reveals the spa's terrifying secrets and finds himself diagnosed with the same mysterious illness that keeps the guests looking for a cure. Now this movie is actually very well put together. I talked about this movie ages ago, but man, everything about this movie I enjoyed. The acting, the sets, the storyline, and it's perfect even down to the colors of the film. I think the director or creator of the movie toned the colors to where they blended in perfect. I can't explain it. It's like a certain tone where certain colors would pop, specifically like reds, yellows, blues, greens, and they always popped very well through the camera. And you can watch it for yourself and decide yourself, but I actually loved, it was beautifully shot. The colors of the films were great, but it's a very weird and bizarre movie, but it's still good. Number 6, Cannibal Holocaust. Now this movie here This movie has a very bizarre backstory. During a rescue mission into the Amazon, a professor finds a lost film shot by a missing documentary crew whose goal was to study the region's cannibalistic tribes. I guess you could say this was one of the first found footage films before found footage movies were even a thing, like with Paranormal Activity and Blair Witch Project and The Visit and movies like that. From what I heard, the director of this movie was actually arrested because people thought he was actually killing people in the movie. It's bizarre because it was fairly a new thing at the time. It was something nobody had ever seen before, and it has been confirmed, I believe, that all the people that were killed in the found footage movie are still alive or did not die. But there have still been rumors of animal deaths in that movie were 100% authentic, so we still do not know. Number 5, The Wall. I love the band Pink Floyd, and I love their album titled The Wall, but their movie? Wow. To keep it plain and simple, the movie follows the character named Pink, whom we know to be the band's lead singer, Roger Waters, who wrote all of the songs on the album The Wall. If anything, this film is like one giant music video of all the songs from the album, but still tries to keep a storyline going. All of the songs were mostly re-recorded for the film, as well as adding a few new songs. This movie is very entertaining. It's a little confusing, but as a Pink Floyd fan, I still, it still has a place in my heart. It's still a pretty entertaining film. Number 4, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Do you want to watch a movie but by the end of it be completely a changed person? This is the movie for you. This film mostly follows a group of astronauts as they are set on a mysterious mission. Their ship's computer system, HAL, begins to display strange behavior, leading up to an intense showdown between man and machine. Although this film is directed by one of my favorite directors of all time, Stanley Kubrick, this is probably one of his most bizarre movies in his entire filmography. But it's still an interesting watch. Number 3, Antichrist. This movie is so damn confusing. This movie is about a married couple having sex. Great start. They are having sex until their infant son falls out of a window, falling to his death. The wife becomes distraught and hospitalized, but her husband, who specializes in these type of things, attempts to treat her. He takes her to a cabin in the woods where she spent the previous summer with her son. Once they are there, she becomes unhinged and starts inflicting sexual violence on her husband as well as herself. By the end of I was already just completely weirded out by the very first shot of the movie, which is very, very sexually explicit that I probably can't even describe it on this video. But by the end of the movie, I was just sitting there like, huh? Now this movie is directed by Lars von Trier, who has done films like The House That Jack Built, which I have not seen. He's done a bunch of movies, but a lot of his movies are very, very bizarre. A lot of his movies are very out there. But I did enjoy a few of his movies in the past, but like I said, a lot of his movies are very, very out there as far as, the adult content. Number 2, Eraserhead. Now this movie drove me freaking insane. The plot is simple enough. It follows a guy named Henry Spencer who impregnates his girlfriend, and she gives birth to something that doesn't resemble a human very much, and he's left with watching it. Nothing else is very clear about the plot. We don't know exactly when or where the story takes place, but wherever it is, it's very dark and depressing. It's not even clear if these people even belong to this world or not. Spencer always has this unsure look on his face, as if everything around him is strange. But we watch him do normal everyday tasks, as taking groceries to his apartment. The pace of this film is extremely bizarre. There's no real talking in the film until about 10 minutes in. Most of the time you hear this dark layered ambient soundtrack. When people do physically talk, there are long pauses in between their lines. Even though this film might seem too abstract, there is still enough of a plot to keep you on board. This movie is pretty disturbing to me. I really can't describe it. I mean, the sounds, the sounds of the movies, of this movie particularly, really just messes with my head. But if you really want to give this movie a shot, good luck. And finally, number one, The Holy Mountain. Now we have scraped the bottom of the crap and confusing barrel. This movie makes no sense whatsoever. Maybe if I took acid, it probably would have made more sense. I guess Google says it best. The film is about a Mexican master who leads a Christ figure and other disciples to a mountain of immortal wise men. Let's just say, I didn't get anything from that watching this movie. From what I heard, this movie was funded by John Lennon. Now, I like John Lennon, but this movie would be right up his alley because he's all into that psychedelic kind of stuff. It's definitely a weird and bizarre movie. It made no sense to me, but somebody out there likes it, so I'm happy for them. Well, there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have seen any of these movies that I mentioned on this list, be sure to write it down in the comments below. What did you think of it? I really would like to know. If you want to follow me on my Twitter and Instagram, I'll put them right here. If you want some ATV merch, I'll be sure to put the link in the description below. And I will see you guys next time on ATV.